Specs, and welcome back to my channel. I'm in the hot tub right now. Well, I'm trying to get comfortable up here. Okay, this is better. Whew. I thought I'd give you guys some of the wisdom I learned this summer as we are finishing out summer and it's bleeding into fall. I always kind of feel like September is it's an extension of summer. I don't ever feel like it's really fall until October, but that's just because I live in Florida and it feels like summer year-round. Finish out summer, I thought I'd post this little tidbit of advice. So the first thing I learned this summer is that I can have different priorities than others around me. My family, you know, your parents instill values in you. Your friends have their own morals and values. People on social media have their own morals and values. And when you go through the world, I feel like it's hard not to see and just apply what you see to your own life instead of actually coming up with your own values and ways of looking at life. And that's something that I've been dealing with as I'm entering my 20s. Turned 20 this month, which is crazy. Can't believe I'm no longer a teenager. But as I enter my 20s, I'm excited about the journey of getting to know myself. And part of that has been understanding that, you know, maybe I value friendship more in my life than my parents do, or maybe I value free time and having more of a work-life balance than my parents do. And that's okay. And that it doesn't mean that either of us are wrong or bad. It just means we have different priorities. It's a lesson that I feel like I'm gonna continue to learn over and over again, because a lot of things that I learn I have to tend to have to repeat to myself till I fully get them. I feel like that's true for most people, that you repeat lessons and cycles so you fully understand it. The next one, kind of going along with the different priorities, is that I need lots of rest and relaxation to emotionally regulate myself. And what I mean by that is when I deal with everyday stress in my life and just dealing with different emotions that come up throughout the day, that can be really hard for me to process and move through the emotions. And part of that for me is that I need rest in order to do that, in order to fully feel like I am working through my emotions and not suppressing them, and actually fully dealing with them and understanding them and processing them. Part of that process for me is rest. And I feel like I used to shame myself for that. I feel like I'm squinting a lot in this video probably. It's kind of sunny out here. There's a big rain cloud right there. That's Florida for you. Anyway, back on topic. I need lots of rest to emotionally regulate, and I've shamed myself for that most of my life because I felt like, wow, I'm not being productive. But emotionally regulating your emotions is productive to yourself. You can't do anything if you're, you know, so overly emotional and you haven't worked through any of those emotions, and they're kind of just stuck there because it'll stay stored in your body. Trauma holds in the body. I don't know. I feel like that's something that I didn't really know until recently, that it's part of my process. So that's something I've learned. Lots of rest this summer, lots of relaxation because I deserve it and it's part of my process, you know? Flowing into the shame thing, taking that and moving into our next point, number 3. I don't know if I've been saying the numbers. Number 3. Worry and shame are a waste of energy. I love to shame myself. I love to shame myself through other people, which is the next point. I'm so good at these, you know, transitions. But I love to shame myself for the things that I do to cope with life. And it's not all of it's my fault. A lot of it is the experiences I've been through and how I've learned to cope with things. And it doesn't mean it's not my responsibility to unlearn these things, but shaming myself will not help me unlearn them. Accepting and loving and understanding those parts of myself first will help me to unlearn them, not hating and shaming and whatever. And worrying about it. Worrying about most things is pointless because it's just going to it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. You're worrying about whether it's going to happen or not happen doesn't usually change or affects, never really changes or affects if it happens or not. So worry is a waste of time. And that's easier said than done. I have generalized anxiety. It's obviously very hard. I'm diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. I know it's hard to say. I know it's easier said than done, but I still think it's something that it's nice to remind yourself that you're wasting your time and that it's not going to benefit you by wasting that energy on worrying about the outcome. I try to remind myself that it's better to see what will happen than try to guess what will happen. Just see how it plays out. Just flow with the energy, flow like water. One of my favorite tarot readers always says that. He's like, be like water, take the shape of water, takes the shape of anything it's put into. Be like water. That's just kind of how you move through life. That's how I've been moving through life, just like water. That's why I'm in this hot tub right now. It's all a metaphor. It all means something, right? The next point is that I heavily project onto others. It's something I learned, is that I heavily project myself onto other people, project negative thoughts about myself on other people. So I'm like, if I think that I didn't do good at my job, and then I see my bosses, you know, talking to each other, in my head I'll be like, oh, they're talking about how bad of a job I did because you did such a bad job in there, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, nobody actually said that. They're probably talking about the weather or something, and I'm sitting here projecting this whole narrative because of my own insecurity and my own negative self-beliefs. I'm projecting a whole conversation and collecting all this evidence. It's not true, and I've been doing it my whole life, and now that I know about it, it's easier to spot. Like, for example, you know, thinking that your boss is talking crap about you, thinking your friends, thinking somebody's subtweeting you when they're not, or maybe they are, but it doesn't really matter, because it's more about how I'm using other people to be negative about myself, and how I'm using them as evidence to prove negative things about myself when there's actually no evidence there. And that's something that I've been really trying to work on, and really trying to call out in myself when I see it, when I notice it. So yeah. The next thing is that I can be wrong and I can still be a good person. Now, this is probably obvious to most people, that you can make a mistake and be a good person, and it's not that it's not obvious to me. It's just I usually tend to exclude myself from things like this. Well, everyone else can make mistakes except for me. I have to be perfect. And the more I go through my life, I'm realizing that that's not a healthy or smart or positive way to live your life, to think that you are the exception to these rules. So just reinforcing that I can make mistakes, I can be wrong, and that doesn't make me a whole bad person, you know. And the fact that I care so much about if I'm a good or bad person probably means I'm a good person. I think I'm a pretty good person. I don't know, you can tell me, let me know in the comments below. That's such a YouTuber thing to say. I feel so cringe when I act like a YouTuber even though I'm making a YouTube video. Number 6, I get triggered when I feel misunderstood. When I feel like people aren't understanding my perspective, aren't trying to see things from my perspective, aren't giving me the benefit of the doubt, when I feel misunderstood, it really like triggers me. It brings me back to like feeling like a child, feeling like I can't explain myself, feeling like no matter what I say, it's wrong. Something that I've just observed in myself. It's just a neutral observation that's something that triggers me. And being more aware of this kind of stuff and knowing things about myself, I like that. I like that I can get to know myself and get closer with myself by being like, okay, Bex, right now, I think this might be triggering you, and here's why, and let's sit with that feeling and let's understand, okay, this is from our childhood, blah, 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 blah. It's nice to get to know yourself, and sorry if I'm being a little too deep. I feel like I haven't really gotten super emotional or deep on the internet or on my YouTube channel in general, because it always feels like a space that I want to be polished, but I feel like I'm starting to shed that kind of maybe hesitation to be more vulnerable in here, because I feel like it's, I say I feel like a lot, I'm sorry, I'm a little ADHD right now, but I feel like this is a spot that I actually want to start using more to spread awareness on mental health and positive things, and I think that it's a positive use of my time and platform to talk about these things and not just make little aesthetic vlogs. Like, I like that too, but I also want to use this channel to talk about things that are important to me and things that I've learned, and okay, we're almost done. Number 7 is that I have talents, skills, and strengths, and that I'm a biased person when it comes to talking about those things. So I feel like I've always been at, like, since I was very little, I always just kind of saw myself in a negative light, and I don't really know why. I mean, I kind of know why. We don't have to delve into that. Just know that I've always kind of saw myself in a negative light, perceived myself negatively, and that because of that, because it's been so baked into my understanding of myself that I'm a biased person when it comes to measuring how good I am at something for the most part. Like, obviously I can be objective, but I'm not always the most objective person when it comes to myself because I'm biased. And that's okay. That's okay. I like that I, again, know that about myself. Everything I've learned about myself, I take as this chance to get closer with myself, and I feel like it's a really good way to look at things. Last thing is something that I've known, but I again have to continue to remind myself each and every day that, you know, I'm worth it. I know I deserve to be reminded of it each and every day, so I will. Is that you do not need to achieve in order to deserve love, compassion, and grace. I do not have to perform a certain task every day, or reach a certain goal every day, or be a certain amount of successful in my entire life to deserve unconditional love each and every day. That's something that I feel like maybe I didn't grow up understanding super well based on some of the things in my childhood, and that's okay. Talking about some heavy topics today, but I think it's important every day, whether or not you got the reminders as a child or not, just remind yourself that you don't have to do anything today and you still deserve love. You can sit in bed all day and you made it through the day, you just still deserve love. And that's hard for a lot of people. I think a lot more people than I thought also struggle with that, which is why, I want to talk about stuff like this, because I think we should have more of an open conversation about things that we struggle with and maybe find community in that. So, yeah, thanks for listening. That was 8 things that I learned this summer. Hopefully you learned some positive things this summer, maybe negative things. You know, some of these things were negative. It's all still a part of life and part of, you know, your journey, my journey, to learn things that you don't necessarily like about yourself, but it's still about building that relationship with you. That's something that I've only recently started to work on. And I know I'm only, 19, I'm young, but still I feel like I'm behind. But again, it's another unbiased thing I think about myself, is that I'm always behind. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble for like 15 minutes, I think. Or however much I edit this down to. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice fall and a nice winter and a nice spring again, and then a nice summer again, and just keep having good seasons, I guess. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.